it's a hard thing of when do you do the mama bear claws come out justly?
Yeah.
And then when do you go turn to your kid and go, this is a life lesson for you? And I don't know that all the time. Hello, welcome back to the Anything But Quiet Time podcast. We are Rachelle and Carder, where we dig into scripture. We dig into life's principles and how to live out our faith.
Yep.
We dig into our quiet time. And also, we recognize the seasons that are in life.
The seasons of prom.
Oh, here we go.
Let's just get right into it.
It's getting there. It's getting there.
First of all, we do talk about our quiet time. And right now I'm in the book of Ezekiel. And it is one of those books that, wow. God keeps encouraging Ezekiel to tell the message that he wants to be shared, even though it's not a popular message. And that is still something that he is asking us to do today. And I'm going to talk about what's popular and what's not popular. What should be popular, I think. I saw a story yesterday, and when I shared it with a friend of mine who has 2 daughters that are at this age of prom, she's like, I've never heard of anything remotely close to this.
Okay.
So there's a lady who owns a dress shop. I guess she serves a lot of the states around Illinois. But is it Illinois or Illinois? I've never known.
It's Illinois.
I've said Illinois, and I felt like I was right in saying that.
You were almost there.
But in the moment, I was like...
It's also Des Moines.
Yeah. It's like my word with conscience and conscious. I have to be conscientious when I say conscious and conscience.
I'm exhausted.
Moving on. But she serves a community in Illinois and a lot of the states around there. She said, I get business from everywhere. So this happens everywhere, I guess. She is a wedding dress store owner, but they also have like bridal gowns with like bridesmaids. They have prom dresses. Yeah. It's almost prom season. And for many who actually might be viewing this, you might be in the middle of your prom. But there was this dress. She saw it several months before the month of March. And she was like, I need to buy those because I know those are gonna get snapped up real fast. And so she did. She bought several, but only that amount, and that was it. And so she had some customers back in December of 2024 coming in and trying it on. And this one little girl tried it on. She was a cheerleader going to prom, senior prom, it sounded like. And like, this looks great, but I'm not going to get it yet. We're not just ready yet. This was her mom and the little girl. And it was a few months after that. I guess they do this now where you can post the prom dress that you're going to wear on a webpage, some sort of social platform, so that you don't wear the same dress as another student.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't, of course, that did not exist when I was a kid. If you wore the same dress, oh, you went to JCPenney too?
Whoa, crazy. Yeah.
Wow. This is a thing, though, now. You don't want it to be the same. You want to be exclusive. You want to be the only one, and you want to be special, right? So that's why they post on social media. This little girl buys a dress. This is not the same girl. This is not the cheerleader girl with the mom that came in December. Another student. I got the feeling she's a bit more demure. She's a little bit unknown. She found this beautiful dress and she posted, this is my dress. Well, yeah, the people who thought they wanted it back in December saw it. And I don't know if it was the little girl showing mom or just how it got known to mom. But Mama Bear claws came out from cheerleader mom. I'm reading the story and I'm like, how? Why? You didn't buy the dress.
Right, yeah.
Why? And even if you had bought the dress and this little girl had the same dress, who cares?
It's not the end of the world.
It's a dress. Yeah. So she, the mom, calls the dress shop owner. And she says, hey, we were there in December. We like this dress. This other girl has this dress. Why did you sell her this dress? And she's like, are you serious?
It wasn't on layaway, right?
Yeah. And she's like, well, what size do you have left? Well, I have it in this size. Well, that's not the right size. I need you to call this lady back and I need you to get the dress back. What? In what world are we in right now?
Yeah.
People are still starving around the world, right? I mean, this is what runs through my mind. It's like, what truly matters here? I'm very glad, by the way, that I'm a mother of boys. This will not be a thing for me. I've felt cattiness before in my heart, absolutely. I've seen women wear something that either I wanted to wear or maybe it was similar to what I was wearing and have looked jealously. I would be lying if I didn't say that. But then you take those feelings, those thoughts, even that if I've taken it to a place of sin, to the Lord. And you ask for his guidance and his help and forgiveness, right? So I know that not everybody's going to do that because not everybody believes in Jesus. But then again, I have met individuals who say that they're a believer, but they have these exceptions to rules that God has laid out. They're like, well, he didn't mean it when he said this, when it comes to my baby, you know?
It's like, okay for me because of,
Exactly. And I have to be mindful of that hostility in my own heart. So this is a good opportunity for me to put the mirror up in front of me and say, how are you like this crazy lady with the mama bear claws? What happens next? This little girl is bullied, harassed. I don't know if it's because the other girl was popular and she got the bandwagon on her wagon saying, hey, we need to get this dress back. I don't know what happened. This little girl who got the dress, her car gets egged. Her house gets egged.
Wow, yeah.
And when this dress shop owner is sharing her story on TikTok, there's a lot of dress owners that pipe up on the comments saying, this is not new to me either. This has happened to us before. This has happened and this has happened. I'm like, oh my goodness. There have been parents at certain high schools. They have banned parents from being there as chaperones because the parents are more at fault than the children with this kind of behavior. And of course, we're just teaching our children to follow in our footsteps. And have I ever felt Mama Bear's claws come out for me and my kids? Yes. Even though they're boys, it might have been over a different matter. I felt that. I hope that in my initial feelings and thoughts, I put the brakes on and go, wait a second. What does the Bible say about this? What does Jesus say about this? And hopefully the reason why I broke in the first place, I hit those brakes, was because the Holy Spirit was prompting me to do it. Wait a second, Rachelle. You have not brought this issue and submitted it under my authority. And I was on our website today, ksbj.org. We work with KSBJ, and we have a place where you can submit prayer requests. It's called our prayer wall. And I read this one. I love this so much. This little girl says, can you pray for me? Because I have a huge tryout today for a musical with two of my friends, and they got major roles while I got ensemble in another play. Also pray that you can help me remember I am trying out for God by using my talents, not to be cool. So this little one's attitude is spot on. Wait, I want to be happy for my friends. Yes, it's understandable that you're going to feel jealous, hurt, maybe even deal with some envy, and having to confess that envy is a sin. It's not okay. But Lord, I still trust that you have plans for me, that you have a purpose for my life, that you have allowed this to touch my life, whatever it may be, whether it's rejection or whatever it is. There's purpose in it. Even something it may seem silly, but I know girls we get worked up about, I want to look nice. I want that prom moment to be really nice, And so they work it up in their mind to be maybe more than it should be. And if we're not careful, we can allow ourselves to be in that place of envy, and then this ugliness can just come out of it.
It's a little bit like when you see a movie where they start eating each other. They get stranded on an island and all of a sudden people go crazy.
Yeah.
And I think there's a little bit of that when it's finally...
Yellow Jackets, right? Isn't that the name of that show?
Oh, I don't know.
No, I'm not going to watch the show. I'm not recommending it. I heard about it.
I don't even know what you're talking about. Okay.
It's an actual show right now.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Well, just the desperation when you all of a sudden get to, quote, your day. And it's hard because there was expectation, like a wedding day, right? I mean, there are expectations, but if something doesn't go right on that day, do you abandon your faith because I don't care, this is my time. I have to survive almost socially. And I think what it makes me think of especially the first part with the moms, when do you stand up for your kid? When do you, of course, when do you let them learn a lesson? There's all that.
Right.
But when do you let them be disserviced, right? When does the kid at the park cut your kid in line and he's been waiting there for a few minutes, and there's nothing really, he didn't get hurt. Nobody pushed him down. There wasn't anything to like intervene for necessarily. Do you go to your kid and go, that happens in life? Mm-hmm. Or do you go to that other kid and go, it was his turn, which there might be a time for that, but it's a hard thing of when do the mama bear claws come out justly?
Yeah.
And then when do you go turn to your kid and go, this is a life lesson for you? And I don't know that all the time.
I don't think that there's any one answer that is correct other than to follow the Lord's leading. And I mean, because we see Jesus respond differently, don't we, in different circumstances. When it comes to his accusers, we know that he came to this earth to die for us, right? He was meant to walk down the Via Dolorosa to Calvary and die on that cross. And so he was silent before his accusers. But there were also times where he spoke. Mm-hmm. There were times where he drew in the dirt and said, he who is without sin cast the first stone. I mean, that's what he does right before that woman is thrown at him. And people have speculated as to, what was he drawing in the dirt? Was he drawing somebody's sin? Was he drawing something that made them go, oh yeah, I'm guilty too? What was he drawing? Maybe nothing.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah, but he didn't have to say a whole lot.
Well, me and a friend were talking about whatever the hot topic that we were talking about was, and we were talking about what Jesus would say, and I think think about any political, any sexual ethic conversation, anything of our day, pro-life, pro-choice, I think in anything, if Jesus were here audibly speaking, we asked him a question and we expected him to answer just like we believe, I think he would say an answer that would frustrate both sides often. Because I think what can happen, certainly on things that we know that the Bible teaches, whether it's sexual ethics or pro-life or whatever, I think he would speak to the empathy that sometimes isn't shown in the name of being correct on issues.
Yes.
And then obviously on the other side of what injustices can happen on some of that. And so I think it just seems like every answer you get of Jesus isn't the answer that either side really wanted. It wasn't an echo of what they were already saying. It was his answer.
It was
because
his
he's
answer.
God.
And his answer is, the only time his answer is a one-size-fits-all is redemption.
Oh, yeah.
That is for everybody.
The way the truth of life is through him only.
But
right?
you see some of his answers were even harsh, like the woman who came up and asked for help for her daughter. And he sees that she is not a Jewish person. And he comments about, but the food should be given to the children first, meaning the true Hebrew children. Yeah. I don't think Jesus, I don't know, there's something there. Like, we're not fully understanding what was happening in that moment. He was probably testing to see, will she continue in faith to pursue her child? Yeah. And she said, even the dogs get crumbs from the tables.
Yeah.
And Jesus was like, yep. Your daughter's okay. She's going to be okay. We're going to heal her. It's good.
I think it's key to remember, and obviously these situations, especially what I wanted to bring up too, speaking of actresses, the Oscars happened recently.
Yes.
And there are, as any, what are there, 10 films now for Best Picture yearly nominated? It used to be 5, I think. And
I honestly stopped watching it a while ago.
Yeah.
Because it's just difficult for me. And honestly, I feel bad for the host. Every year, I'm like, they don't know what kind, because you and I have emceed before.
Oh, gosh.
We know how hard it is to relate to the audience. And if it's filmed, relate to somebody else who's watching.
Right.
Who's displaced and not even in your audience.
And not within the circle of Hollywood elite.
Really difficult job. It's just easier for me I would rather watch a scary movie.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Well, so usually there's not any scary movies nominated for Best Picture.
Well, Silence of the Lambs was nominated.
Nowadays it is often the artsiest, fartsiest Sundance film things you've never heard of until they get nominated.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I guess everybody needs to see this,
yeah,
right?
Gladiator 2 was a huge success. Where
was it? Yeah, it wasn't nominated, was it? Or not for Best Picture.
It was nominated for something, but its predecessor won.
That's
so
right.
It's fascinating.
That's true. That's interesting. So there's a few on there that I haven't seen, but I know enough about that I'm like, I don't think I should be watching that. And there's, I'll just say it because of the actress's voice that you'll hear. The one that is really making the rounds, because I think it won Best Picture, and she certainly won Best Actress.
Yes.
Nora.
Yes.
And Mickey Madison is her name. And I mean, I just read the parental safety just to see if it's anything.
Sure.
I'm not saying that there can't be a heart in I want to tell somebody's story, but the gratuitousness that even I just read of certainly language, but obviously the sexual content in what she's playing is this sex worker in this. And I don't think that needs to be as gratuitous as most movies probably don't need to be. And I just speaking to culture here, right? She was on Fallon, and let's see, I just lost the link. Here we go. He was asking her about did your parents see this?
Did your parents see this?
She says, yeah.
Yeah, my parents love the film, and my entire family loves it and has seen it more times than I have. And my grandmother, who is 90 and a very modest woman, loves the film and has seen it many times, and she's always...
So her family's seen it, loved it. Her grandma, that's 90 years old and is one of the most modest women, has seen it multiple times. And then I think she goes on to say her and her Pilates friends talk about it, And when Jimmy Fallon asked the question, have your parents seen this? The crowd laughs.
Yeah.
Why do you think they laugh? Because that's incredibly awkward of her parents watching the things that happen in this movie that she is, And I'm just sitting here going, that's so true that I think that we can, if a certain type of person approves it, then we can go, oh, then it's okay. Well, 90-year-old grandmas are sweet. They wouldn't do anything wrong. And I think back to you mentioned, Ezekiel, and you have these prophets speaking against culture, against what's popular.
And these are the leaders.
These are the
people you were supposed to go to for protection and help.
And they're sitting here saying in that situation, everything's fine. God would never hurt us. And
false prophets are speaking. Give them a trophy. We want to hear what they have to say, which was false.
And that's kind of today. God just loves. God, there's no truth. There's no justice. There's just God's love, and everything's fine. And I think that, and Christians can make this mistake too. It's not just the broader culture. It is, if I see somebody that I think they're a pretty good person, and they kind of winked sin away, then it's probably not that big of a deal. And here we are just laughing, And again, I get that if you want to tell a story, sometimes there's Christian movies that even have some language and have some, what For King and Country do? They did the Priceless movie to show the world the horrors of sex trafficking. So I get that there's going to be some content in movies to show a true story.
But it was implied.
Yeah.
And not shown.
Sure.
And I remember, as a person who thought that I would be in the theater world with my theater degree, I struggled hugely with when I would go for auditions, and sometimes I made great choices. Like there was this one time when I was cast in the lead, and I looked at the script and I said, if my grandpa comes to this performance, I literally said this to the director.
Yeah.
I said, is there leeway here with language? I don't feel comfortable. And she said, well, it's not you. It's a character that you're portraying. And to some degree, I can see that. I've seen actors who profess Christ. Denzel Washington is one of them, who has felt a liberty about that. Now, I don't know him personally. I don't know if there has been a struggle regarding that. I have heard from other people like Renee Russo, who is a strong Catholic, and she went to a priest and she talked with him because she felt weird about doing a nude scene. And there are people who clearly they feel something in their heart. There's a bit of an angst there. And I believe the Holy Spirit's trying to catch up to where because I was always so excited, such a ham. I really wanted to do the thing. Wait, don't let my excitement get ahead of, what God would have me do. So I tried to check in with him, and I turned down the role when she said, no, I'm sorry, there's no leeway on the language. But there were other roles that I did go for that I felt the check in my spirit.
Yeah.
And so I'm not proud of those moments, but that was a continual struggle for me. And I think I landed on a really good place. First of all, I'm not in that world. I did dabble here and there with some stuff, but I'm not in that world, so it's not really an issue. But when I first got into drama, into theater, one of the first rules for the Greek drama and play was to know thyself. I thought that was interesting. It was even like it's engraved, I think, at the ruins where the Greeks would do the plays, which could be tragedy. As we know, Oedipus Rex was not a comedy. I know myself because of Christ. So if I've identified with Christ, it's no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me.
Sure.
That's what Scripture tells me. So then to know myself is to know who Jesus is. To know who Jesus is, he's the one who needs to help me go, is this okay or is this not okay? Mm-hmm. Because here's the thing, we can take ourselves so seriously. The only person we should ever take seriously is Christ. Mm. Because everybody has a story, everybody has pain, and I can get so enwrapped in the pain that I fail to see what is truly needing to come out of this moment. Like, I want to portray this person because I know they went through so much pain. I understand that, but wait a second, what are we trying to help our audience come to a conclusion here? Right. Or is this just to show it for giggles?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the artistry would say, no, this is because we want to show what truly is happening in this world. In many ways, they have done that. I think Schindler's List is one of those rarities when you watch it and you see the nudity. There's a very real purpose behind that. These people were stripped down. They were treated like worse than animals, right, during the Holocaust. Then there's other things where it's like, oh, well, she would be naked, so I should be naked. And you're like,
yeah, it's
justifying stuff is
what's amazing to me is that culture in this realm, a lot of times mainly with sexuality, but a lot of things is just the old like you watch on the PBS after school. It's peer pressure. What's the big deal? What's the big deal? And that's just with that clip. And I love Fallon and all that, but it was just. We just giggle it off like it's no big deal. And to their credit, if there is no God, if that's the worldview they're operating under, then they're right. None of it matters. And it's just kind of awkward and funny and you do whatever you want.
And it's also the culture you're raised in. I don't know what her background is, but if you're European, you're probably freer in terms of nudity and things like that. We're considered very prudish still in Western culture, which you're like, what? Seriously? Us, Americans? Still, next to European standards, we really are. But I'm fine with that because I've seen the links that we go to now in the United States. But you're making me think about this one actress. I won't share her name. She decided to do a movie. It wasn't even a great movie, but she had been pressured for a very long time because she's a stunning woman to do a nude scene. And for this film, she decided she would go topless. And she shared once she did it, she said, I just felt free after I finally did it. I think that's how I feel when I am checked in my spirit. And God, it says in Scripture, sometimes it comes as a still small voice. And you should pay attention. If you want it to get louder, pay attention. And the more you pay attention, the more just authentic, the more you are. Your identity is no longer I choose to identify. You are in Christ. You are acting out of a place where He is in me. Just like he shares in that beautiful prayer. Actually, when he says that they are one as we are one, we're the same is what that's translated to be. We're the same, that He is me and I am Him because He's in me, having nothing to do with me, right? But because I have answered yes to all the times He's asked me to say yes, it will become
more natural.
Natural.
Yep.
And this woman said, I became free. What that meant to her, I don't know. But it sure sounds like all the times that I, in my past, when I get over that hump of like the little check, and now it's just, I'm not as sensitive to that anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm a little bit more desensitized about whatever.
And we see evidence of just being desensitized even by the internet. We see YouTube comments, right? We know that being desensitized is a possibility. But the Bible talks about that. I think we've done a disservice where when we say if you're not in God's will, you can never be happy. Because I don't think that's all the way true. I don't think you'll have that true joy. I think there'll be something missing. But I think there's a lot of just happy people living life because Romans talks about I've given you over to your sin. I mean, and so that's kind of what you're describing, that once you just get to your own place, then
there's a lot of nice people.
Well, oh yeah, that too.
They're nice. Yeah. They're doing nice, good things.
Yeah.
But if they have not repented, the Bible tells us that they are not going to go to heaven.
Yeah. Yeah.
And nobody really likes to say they're going to hell because judgment is between them and God. Absolutely. If anybody asks me, do you think so-and-so is going to heaven or hell? I'm never going to say yes or no. Because what takes place between that moment of them no longer being in my presence, it says, if they're not present in body, they're present with the Lord. So in that moment, they're finding out what's going to happen to them, right? And that's between them and the Lord. But if you ask me if a person is going to heaven, only if they have received the gift that only Jesus can give, nothing that I can attain on my own, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it's about. Well, and the last thing I had was I heard a story. This guy that works with something called the Almeida Initiative. He's a Christian that has many conversations with Muslims, and I think I think this is it too. If it's a person that believes different politically or religiously, it was amazing to hear him describe how we can have our beliefs, but don't let it get in the way of the person sitting in front of you.
Yeah.
His main thing was, you want to talk about immigration? You want to vote a certain way about immigration? Do it. But when for example, him sitting at a coffee shop and he sees a woman from Saudi Arabia and he just knows the culture. He gives a certain Saudi Arabian greeting.
Yeah.
And she goes, oh, hello, wait, are you a Muslim? Are you practice Islam? He's like, no, I'm a Christian and we talked and we do this. And she goes, that's crazy because I was just thinking the other day that I need to read the Bible and I don't know why. And then when they talk and she decides, I think I want to follow Jesus. She gets back to Saudi Arabia and she goes to a friend that she feels like she can trust. And she goes, I think that I believe in Jesus as God. And that woman her friend goes, don't tell anybody that. And don't tell anybody what I'm about to tell you. But I've secretly been a Christian for a couple of years.
Wow.
And just these things of what he may believe politically, religiously. You want to talk about Hollywood elite, you want to talk about somebody from a different country. Don't let our preconceived notions, don't let even our ability and freedom to vote politically in the way that we feel informed that we should vote, just don't let it get in the way of the person standing in front of you. And I thought that was just so beautiful.
Yeah. I think it's important to hold on to your absolute truth, which is Jesus every day, and to be a listening, available Christian. I'm available and I want to hear your story because I know it's special to you. And if I start seeing you not as a person to get you to convert, I'm reading a story right now about this woman who was just invited to come and sit at a table with some friends who are not the same faith or background, culture, or anything that she was. They were just Christians. She knew they were Christians. They stood firm in their faith. At the same time, they did not witness to her that night, nor did they invite her to church. And when I heard that, I was like, that's interesting. She said, because if they had done either of those things, I would never have gone back to their house.
Yeah, that's interesting.
She thought she had already pinpointed exactly what they were going to do, how they were going to do it. And so God may lead you one day where you do meet a person and invite them to church because that was the right thing for that person. But in the next breath, it might be different for somebody else because they're not ready yet.
We should hold to that the stakes are high because they are. If this is true, right? If God's real, if Jesus is the revelation, you've said it before, you've heard it said that Jesus is what God wanted to say, then I get that the stakes are high and it's absolutely true. But I think in some ways, kind of like you're describing, we should treat people like people and almost like we invited them to the Rotary Club. Hey, come on with me if you want to, if you're interested. And then, hey, did you like it? No? Hey, whatever you want to do. I mean, to some degree, right? I'm not saying that later down the road, we shouldn't ask again. Of course, we should continue praying. The stakes are high, but I can't just sit here and treat them like a convert. And then if they don't do it, then go, well, never mind. Now I'm moving on to my other project.
Yeah.
Right?
Then the response from me can sometimes even come across non-intentionally condescending. If I want to witness and share with somebody, the person who is Jesus Christ, if I'm not careful, it can come across as, hey, let me tell you what you need because you don't know anything.
Right.
Unless you know Jesus.
Yeah.
I've seen bumper stickers like that. In fact, I remember this one guy, I've shared this before. His mother did not raise him in the church. He did not want to have anything to do with the Lord. He was a very nice guy, but told me, he's like, I'm good. I'd wear my Jesus Freak DC Talk cap. He knew I was a believer. And we were just walking together one day, walked past this house, and somebody had in front of their house something like, you're stupid if you don't follow Jesus. And it was so offensive to him. He said, that right there, that's why.
And
I'm like,
yeah, you could defend the sign. Well, honestly, like my
you're
dad,
allowed to put a sign in your house. This is America.
like my dad says, as if you're an employer anywhere and you may be totally in the right as an employer of like, this customer can't behave that way, or you're not going to argue the price to me or whatever.
Yeah.
You can win the argument and lose the customer.
Yeah.
And you can be right. And you are right, maybe. And I mean, if you're on Jesus' side, I think you're right. But you got to let them be them.
Yeah.
Up to a certain, I mean, you got to let them be them. And then if it crosses a line for you, then you got to decide what you're going to do. But you can't make somebody believe something.
I think I read a quote the other day. It was one of those that I passed by, and it was written on, I don't know, you could buy it pre-done in a frame, lovely wall art. And I was like, I don't know if I agree with that. It basically said that truth comes second to being a listening ear.
Okay.
And part of me agrees with that because I think about your being right in this instance, being the truth, right?
Yeah.
This is the truth. Your being right comes second to being a person that is available and saying, what do you need?
Sure.
What can I help you with? Because now I am embodying Christ. I'm now hands and feet. I am now serving as he told us to serve. So it's more than just actively, physically serving. It is how can I serve people? And most of the time it's coming into the subservient role as opposed to let me come in and tell you how to live your life. Most of the time.
No, that's good. This is great. This is the Anything But Quiet Time podcast. Again, hit the subscribe and the bell. We have episodes every Monday. YouTube, if you're already watching, you can leave a comment, and we'd love to talk about that. In fact, that was our episode last week, based on a comment. And then if you're watching and would rather listen, Apple or Spotify, you can text the word quiet to the number 893-893. You'll get those links.
Or if you'd like to comment onto why you would rather listen than watch anymore, I'd be very fascinated as to why. Do we turn them off? Is that why they don't want to watch us anymore?
Well, let me say
You're
this.
easier to listen to than to look at.
I'm going to go off of the argument of YouTube having to stay the screen on runs
That's
the battery
true.
down faster.
Oh, yes. Right.
That's what I'll go with.
Yeah.
But now I'm going to feel self-conscious for the rest of the day.
Well,
so thanks a lot for bringing me into that.
When they show those clips and it's frozen on.